right, this by far looks like the coziest corner right now in the house because not everyone loves to start celebrating fall in August, even though by the time this comes out, it will be indeed September. So I bought two like really basic cheap sweatshirts, I want to say 2 years ago at this point. And both years, 2 years ago and last year, I attempted to start on these projects that I had in mind for them. But the time got away from me, I think 2 years in a row, but I am doing it this year. I think sweatshirts are kind of the perfect thing to make right now because while it's still going to be quite warm in the at least coming month, because I feel like September here, it kind of cools off, but not in the middle of the day. But most of the cool weather is in the mornings and the evenings, which is a perfect time to just put on a quick sweatshirt. So there's two different ideas on the docket for this video. First up is a pumpkin sweatshirt that I'm going to base off of this picture of my mom from the 80s, what I consider to be an iconic photo in my life. She was painting pumpkins and wearing a jack-o'-lantern sweatshirt with a little black cat on it. For a few years when she was like a teenager and a young adult, she would paint pumpkins for her local like county fair. That's what I believe it was a county fair. I'll have to ask her, but she would paint pumpkins, and I think that is so cool. Could I ever convince her to decorate pumpkins with me as a child? I only got it once, and then she never did it with me again. I think those years kind of made her over the whole decorating pumpkin thing. So as a kid, I didn't get to decorate pumpkins very often in my own home, but I did get it once, and she was very, very good at it. That is literally, if I could pick a sweatshirt that I wanted, it would always be this. This is so cute, and I want to recreate it. I'm going to make a couple of changes. The biggest change that's going to happen here is I have bought scrap fabric off of Etsy. I know that sounds kind of crazy because I'm sure I have scrap fabric. I just don't have fall themed scrap fabric. So I bought some of that, and that's what we're going to use to, I guess, make my own design inspired by this sweatshirt. And second, my favorite Halloween / fall, oh, that's hard. It's definitely my favorite Halloween piece of media is Over the Garden Wall. It's not even a competition. I watch it several times every year, and I have always wanted to make a piece of clothing inspired by it. So I would like to attempt painting on fabric with my own design based off of specifically the poster of the TV show. My YouTube Shorts recommendations at least sometimes know what I want, and they have been showing me people painting on clothing. I've done it once before, but I did it with stamps. I would like to try to actually just like free paint. Let's send you back in time to see how I made both of these sweatshirts. So we are starting off with the Over the Garden Wall sweatshirt, and I had to make the design for the front. I actually made this design a whole year ago, so I finally get to show it. It's been in my like saved documents for a year now, so it's nice to get to show it to you finally. I wanted this design to kind of look like a jack-o'-lantern, or at least what a jack-o'-lantern looks like at night. So I took the poster and started breaking down the characters into simple shapes with a kind of vignette design. And here's the final design. I'm not going to be able to trace it, so it won't look exactly like this, but with this design in hand, I'm able to move on to drawing on the actual sweatshirt. I started by cutting out an arch shape in the size I thought would look good on the sweatshirt. I don't think in this video I did a great job at the correct sizes for the designs on the sweatshirt, but you know, I'm learning. But then the only thing I could find that would show up on black, but I could still draw with, were these white pencils. They were not the easiest, but they did just fine as a general outline. Then I mixed the fabric medium with these cheap acrylic paints I've had forever. I've been watching a couple of creators who paint on fabric, and they sometimes use a squeeze bottle, which I think would have actually been perfect for this project, but at the time I thought I didn't need to do that. So I took my thinnest paintbrush and started painting. Since I'm trying to make this look like the light inside a jack-o'-lantern, I started with the brightest color where a flame's light would be concentrated. Would it have been more concentrated at the bottom in real life? Yes, but I felt like starting in the middle, I thought that would look nice, and I still think the effect comes through. Then I started mixing a light orange color next, as if we are getting a bit farther away from our light source. Then finally I chose a rust color for the final color. I did end up going back over the yellow sections because they just felt a little bit too close to a neon or almost a green to me. And I think that actually fixed a couple of the problems that I was having with this design. I actually ended up needing to do 2 layers over this entire design to get it to pop as much as I wanted it to. But it was just so calming to just get to sit down and paint for a while. A few days later, my mom saw my sweatshirt that I was working on, and she actually offered to recreate the logo on the back. And since I had failed at attempting to create the type on the front, I happily took her up on the offer. I literally cannot believe how perfect it was. I couldn't have done this if my life depended on it. And then I took a gold-ish color that brought in all the colors from the front, but was reminiscent of the original color, and got to work. Hello, it is time to start on the second sweatshirt, and I did not pull up my reference photo. I think I'm going to make a couple of changes beyond the changes I'm already making because I'm going to take scrap fabric, which I got off of Etsy. I think that I can wear it for an extra month in November. I'm going to change it from a jack-o'-lantern to a pumpkin, like just a pumpkin, and then I'm going to change the little cat on the side to my dog, which is a Westie. I'm going to draw it out on the white paper that I used right here to paint on top of my black sweatshirt, which is done. It is so pretty. Can't wait to show you that one. Just to draw out a general shape of everything to know where I'm going with this, because I feel like I'm going in without doing any pre-work on this one, unlike the first sweatshirt. It was funny because I filmed another video this morning, and doing that first thing plus I think the heat and humidity, because I think we're in our last big push of heat here, I hope. I took my yearly nap. I took about one nap a year unless I'm really sick. So we're just gonna stay in pajamas today. Be nice and cozy. All right, let's get to it. Ollie came home from a overnight vet visit, and he was sporting these very fashionable little fur booties because of the IVs. He either looks like one of those fluffy chickens or like that dog from Howl's Moving Castle. Either way, we were just so happy to have him home and that he's healthy now. Once again, you see me very scientifically estimating how big I want this to be, and once again, I think I made it too big. From the scrap fabric pile, there were a lot of unusable pieces, which I didn't love that I got pretty much unusable pieces when I bought this online, but I found several larger pieces with an orange tone, a green for the stem, and I thought the black on this plaid might work for the eyes and a nose. I was deliberating over how to break up the fabric scraps, but I decided to use each one of these. I actually had to look this up on the internet to see what they were called. Ribs of the pumpkin. That would each be a different fabric, and then I added arrows to each of these basically pattern pieces to tell myself where to add a bit of seam allowance. I also had this leftover white fabric to use for Ollie. This does not end up working out at all, but I'm showing you my process, bumps and all. So as I said, the fabric was way too lightweight, and so I decided to buy some light felt instead, but that would take a few days to get to me. So I moved on to the pumpkin. First by putting the middle section together, since I didn't have a wide enough piece of scrap fabric for the entire middle section. Then I pinned all of the pumpkin pieces together. Then I went over the very important last step of the painted sweatshirt, which is to give it a good iron with a piece of parchment paper between it. I ironed it for at least a good 5 minutes on each side just to make sure. This will set your paint when you go to wash it. I sewed each rib together with a small zigzag stitch. Once the pumpkin was stitched together, I then put a fabric backing on it so that all of the raw edges would be covered on the inside. Then I marked the middle line down the pumpkin and down the inside of the sweatshirt, lined those up, and pinned the pumpkin right side down to the wrong side of the sweatshirt. Here I'm trying reverse applique, which is something I've never done before, and I got a lot of tips from this creator. I'll put the link to their channel down in the description if you'd like a more in-depth description of how to do this technique. After stitching that down, I turned it right side out and started cutting out the sweatshirt where the pumpkin was, making extra sure that I was only cutting the sweatshirt material and not the scrap fabric underneath. A few days later, I got the felt that I needed to make Ollie, so I redrew his face and little paws directly on the felt and cut that out. And then I also cut out 2 eyes and a nose with black felt. After ironing it to get all of the folded creases out, I pinned on the eyes and nose and very carefully stitched that onto his face. And then I switched the black thread out for white and once again, slowly and carefully top stitched Ollie to the sweatshirt. And with that, it's time to show you how both sweatshirts turned out. They're both done, and I'm pretty proud of them both. I have a couple of notes. First off, with the orange pumpkin sweatshirt, it is definitely not perfect. As I said before, I think my main problem here was that I made the designs too large on both sweatshirts. You know, we're learning curve, whatever. So the pumpkin, I think, kind of loses its shape a little bit. However, Ollie is so cute on that sweatshirt. I want to wear it all the time just for him. Oh, it's so cute. For the black sweatshirt, oh my goodness, I love this sweatshirt. I think the design is really cool. Not patting myself on the back or anything. I mean, I am. And then it's saying over the garden wall on the back, I think is really cool. I love that. It's such a good addition. I think the black sweatshirt is my favorite. If you'd asked me at the beginning which one I thought would end up being more successful, I would have said the orange sweatshirt because, you know, sewing with fabric I'm so much more comfortable with, but I just really think the design is really cool on the black sweatshirt and I really love it. And it kind of looks a little spooky and I feel like it has the vibes of the TV show. But that's gonna be it for me this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe so that you can see more from me, but also liking and commenting really help me out. I hope you had a good time and I hope to see you back here next time, especially for more fall content because that's all we're gonna be doing until winter. Bye.